Are you ready to take your power back in 2023? We have a few more weeks left in the year, and we need to be using these weeks wisely. I always say that we have exactly the right amount of time that we need in order to heal. Nobody is behind. You are finding this work at exactly the right time that you needed to find it. And there is no mistake with that. You have all the time that you need to make all of the healing progress that you need to make for yourself, for your children, for your overall family line. And that is what we're working on right now. Yesterday, I recommended a session called Calling Back Your Personal Power, and I hope you went through it, and I hope to hear back from you on how it went. But today, we are jumping in to the deep end. We are getting started working on healing our ancestors. Okay, if you're new here, welcome. I work with a whole bunch of really interesting things, and this exact month, we're working on ancestral healing, because when you do ancestral healing, you heal yourself, your entire family line, and your ancestors can come back and help you, kind of like guardian angels. And it is amazing if you are ready to experience way more miracles in your life, miracles that you didn't even expect, miracles you didn't know were possible. This is the work that you need to be doing, and you need to be doing it right now, because you are finding this now. If you are finding this right now, it is a divine sign, in my opinion, that it's all meant to be. Ask your own body to witness to you if that is true. If you have found this right now, because it is time for you to take some serious steps forward with healing your ancestors. This is my website, alidzuzetclasses.com. I have a ton of sessions, so let's look for ancestors. Today is the day that we're going to start with the session for your ancestors. This session is order by donation, so you can just pick the price point that works for you. And this session, it's going to help you set a bunch of boundaries over your time and your energy, so that as you choose to engage in ancestral healing, your ancestors can't just flood you with their requests for healing. You get to choose when and where and how you're going to engage in this healing work. It's on your terms and not on their terms. You get to choose how this shows up for you, and this is going to help you call back your power. So many of us do not realize how much we truly are at the mercy of our ancestral lines, but we really are. Think about it this way, okay? Your entire body is made based on your genetics, which you got from your parents, you got it from their parents, you got it from their parents, you got it from their parents. At a most basic biological level, your body is the physical manifestation of all of these other ancestors whose bodies combined to create your body. Okay, so we have our physical bodies that we have our ancestors to thank for that. If we're having genetic issues, this is an ancestral line issue that sometimes when we do the emotional healing work, our physical bodies can seriously react in miraculous ways. Sometimes our physical pains, our physical digestive problems, our joint problems, headaches, chronic conditions of all sorts of kinds, many times these are actually linked to ancestral traumas. And as we heal those, we see miracles with our physical bodies. It's incredible. At the same time, think about how much who you are is impacted by the people who raised you. And I understand that many people have, experienced adoption. You were raised by people who are not your biological ancestors. And when we do ancestral healing work, it is biological. That has been my experience almost 100% of the time. I say almost 100% of the time. I can't think of any times off the top of my head where it wasn't biological, but maybe sometimes, but we're dealing with biology. But many people were raised by their biological relatives, and we can see how we have the nature aspect with genetics and the nurture aspect with, the environments that we grew up in, and all of these things add up to creating who we are, right? And when we go through and heal these things, it restores the power to us. How much of who you are, how much of your behavior today is based on genetics and epigenetics and environmental situations and your own trauma, but how much of it is due to ancestral trauma? How much of it is due to ancestral situations that have led you to where you are today? how much of our unconscious thought processes have come from our ancestors. The more ancestral healing work that we do, the more you clear that out of the backlog of your subconscious mind and you restore the power to your consciousness. Okay. You become more conscious. You become more able to handle the things that come your way with grace. Okay. Have you ever had a kid have a tantrum, and then in response, you have a tantrum? Because I'll tell you, I still do this. I'm not proud of this, but like, you know, just yesterday, my 2-year-old spent like literally a full quarter of both of our waking hours screaming at me. And by the end of the day, my nervous system was like so fried. Oh my gosh. I like can't even remember. I'm like, did I have a tantrum yesterday? Maybe. I don't know. I can't actually remember. Maybe I didn't, but I felt like having one because my system just felt so fried. And when we are carrying an abundance of trauma in our nervous system, it's very easy to feel fried. And when we do feel those feelings of overload, the stuff that's in the backlog just spills out. Okay. When we clear that stuff out, it allows our conscious mind to say, I don't want to have a tantrum today. Like I'm my 2-year-old screamed at me for 4 hours today, but that doesn't mean that I need to lose my mind. As soon as we start clearing out our own trauma, but this month our ancestral trauma, it allows us to be a lot more conscious about how we act. So I want to talk about this from a bit of a Christian perspective, if that's okay. I am a Christian. You don't have to be a Christian to benefit from the work that I do. But from a Christian perspective, if we think about, we have all these commandments. We have all these things that we're supposed to do, be a good person, all this kind of thing. But have you ever had an experience like having a tantrum in response to your kid's tantrum, where you knew what the right thing was, and then you felt like you were out of control? Your body just took over. You yelled at somebody. You said something that later you regretted. You did something that later you regretted. Why did you do that? How can you stop it? Maybe you have an addiction, okay? And you don't want it. And you sit there and you're like, Lord, save me from my addiction. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you do it again. Why are you doing that? The answer is it's subconscious. There's stuff going on in your subconscious mind that needs to be healed. Until your subconscious stuff becomes conscious, it runs you. You don't run it. So that is really the premise of all of the work that I do here on this channel and at allyjuiceclasses.com and on Facebook. It's all about taking what is subconscious and making it conscious so that we can actually change these patterns, so that we can become the people that we want to be. As long as we are trapped in this mode of trying to control just what we can control, we're in trouble. You can't control your subconscious mind unless you know how, right? And that is like my calling on this earth, is teaching people how to get in there and start rewiring it and fix it and clean up the loose ends. But a big part of this comes back to our genetics. It comes back to our ancestors. There's a lot of epigenetic research out there showing that the stuff our ancestors have been through affects us today. There's a study out about prisoners of war and how their grandsons have different genetic markers linked to their grandfather's trauma during war, okay? Which is just incredible. I mean, there's so much incredible stuff coming out now about how our ancestors' experiences affect us in ways that you really just wouldn't expect, but they really do. And that study in particular is interesting because it's fathers, right? Because I think it makes a lot of sense when you think of mothers passing on epigenetic trauma, because like you're growing in their womb, you're saturated in your mother's hormones. If your mother has a traumatic pregnancy, like you just simmered in trauma and trauma hormones for the entire 9 months you were in there, and then you're born and your body is used to trauma hormones. And that is the environment that your body is going to continue to try and create because it's the one that's familiar to you. That makes sense. How does it make sense for fathers to pass on their trauma when they are donating one sperm? This is interesting. Well, and this is to me a big evidence of how this is a spiritual issue as well as a physical biological issue. It's both at the same time. So today we're digging it in. We're calling back our personal power. If you did calling back your personal power the session yesterday, good for you. And I'm really proud of you. And today we're going to take it a step further. We're calling back our personal power. We are taking our ancestral trauma and bringing it into our own consciousness and shifting it. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you where to do it. I think I already did. AliDuzatClasses.com. Go to the session for your ancestors, General Healing for Ancestors. It's order by donation, so pick your price point and get started. My work is kind of like a podcast. And so you put it on, just put on the audio. You don't have to watch it. I'm like not that interesting, you know? Although you can watch it, that's fine. But a lot of people just listen to it while they go on a run, they drive in their car, their kids listen to it. If your kids listen with you, that can be really helpful because you clear your own traumas, your kids are going to clear yours and your spouse's family line trauma. So that's the pro tip. We'll talk more about that later. But this session is going to be really helpful today. It's going to help you set some good boundaries over your time and your energy and your efforts with helping your ancestors heal this month. And it's going to help clear some specific stuff. Over the rest of the month, we're going to clear much more other specific stuff. And I just feel so excited about helping all of us to do this, to shift this. The more that we can do to clear this stuff out of the family line, the more the power comes back to us and we get to live the lives that we choose instead of being at the mercy of whatever our ancestors chose before us. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. Get to work. Go do that session for your ancestors if you feel so moved. Man, if you need a scholarship for that session, you can email heal@aliduzat.com and we'll see what we can do to help you access it, but it is by donation, so hopefully everybody can afford it. This is really important work. This is really important work this month. This is just something that kept coming back to me over and over again. We got to work on our ancestors. So I just can't even wait to see what kind of a massive impact this is going to have. You doing work for your ancestral line, you do the work backwards, but it ripples down forwards to all of the other people that are alive from those ancestors. All of your cousins, your second cousins, your 12th cousins. A lot of people are going to be blessed because of the work that you do today. And that's nothing to shake a stick at, right? That's amazing. And I just feel really proud of us. So come hang out on Facebook, Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzat. We're going to be talking about all this stuff. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to see you tomorrow. Call back your power. The time has come.